Welcome, 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 and thank you for joining me. I am going to be talking today about the 10 tips that I have for parents who would like to have a joyful and peaceful holiday season, even this late in the year. Hands up any parents who have felt overwhelmed, pressure to do all the things, snowed under, just fed up with the whole holiday already. Would you prefer to have the kind of holidays that are in Hallmark movies? Peaceful, joy-filled, simple, fun, low-key, slow-paced. In this recording, I'm going to give you 10 tips that get you to that, or maybe closer to it than you ever expected possible. I had one Christmas once that was just overwhelming, pressured to be magical and perfect for the kids, needing to fit in all the things before I started looking around for something simpler. That year broke it. My husband at the time, a Navy sailor, was deployed and came home on the 23rd. The entire holiday and 100% of its preparation, shopping, decorating, baking, cooking, wrapping, and parties were all on me. That was the year I thought, let's use the great-grandparents' gift money to buy the kids the Playmobil mansion and furnish it. So along with everything else, I was staying up late at night putting together a zillion pieces of furniture and a whole house for weeks. I also hosted a kids' party with a friend being Santa with crafts and snacks and foods, which was a great event amongst a collection of families we used to spend a lot of time with. This year, the kids were old enough to know what we always did. So in addition to the "Are you a good enough mommy" Christmas thrower, there was also the pressure of "we always." That year was a blur. I don't remember anything about that year apart from the mansion covered in the sheet waiting on the coffee table that morning. My favorite movie is The Muppet Christmas Carol, and I have loved the original book for decades. Every year I used to read it to my kids, a beautifully illustrated version, so often, in fact, that I can quote quite a lot of it from memory. And I cringe when new stories, new versions, and movies miss the entire point of the piece. While talking about the book and its many versions of the movies with a friend, I noticed something. I always notice things when I say them out loud. It startled both of us. The entire Christmas preparation and celebration in that iconic story takes place in 2 days. The shopping was done on Christmas Eve after work for Bob Cratchit, and Emily is making food preparations at home for the children the same day. The celebration is the next day, and it ended at dinner, sealed with a toast of rum punch shared amongst the entire family, including quite young children, which is how you can tell it's a Victorian story. Can you imagine pulling off a modern Christmas or any other event holiday from Halloween through Easter in 2 days? I am unaware of how protracted and pressured other cultural holidays are, but based on ads in stores and sales alone, none of them come close to the consumer stuff, events, and activities of the holiday season of Christmas, whether it is secular or religious. So that's where my perspective comes from when I say we could do this differently. Have you had your total blur holiday season yet? Are you in the group that says never again? Or are you in the getting impatient and joyless and it's not getting more fun group? If you're looking for ways to bring joy back to the holidays, all of them, not just this next one, you're in the right place. Now, one caveat: you cannot sit through this fascinating and helpful information, get up and carry on doing the same things you've done every other year, and magically have a peaceful, joy-filled holiday, unless you always do. If you're going to have that new, peaceful, joy-filled holiday that you see on TV movies, there are changes that you need to make. Some of those changes are simply the way you think about this. Others are going to require negotiations and conversations with the other interested parties in your celebrations. Some of you might even need more help sorting through the taboos and hidden beliefs that are tangled up for you. I promise there's more help available, and I'll tell you more about that before I wrap up today. Let's get started. Tip 1 for a peaceful, joy-filled holidays. Is your notebook ready? Write this one down. Let's start light and simple. Write down one thing that you do every year that you have no idea at all why you do it. It might be baking something your family doesn't like. It might be an event like a light parade that's actually not fun or worth the time it takes to get there and back. and the kids moan about it. It might be an obligatory visit to someone that nobody actually likes spending time with. Tip number 1 is just stop doing everything that nobody enjoys. Just stop right now. It's simple and painless. Tip number 2, for a joy-filled, peaceful holiday, we just took something onerous away. So now let's flip it. Add one thing. Now there's no point in taking away something that's a pain, just add something else that's also a pain. This time, add one thing that is relaxing, pampering, easy, fun, simple, and if possible, free. Do you love knitting? Book some time to spend an afternoon or evening with friends, live or online, for a stitch and bitch. Do you love baths? Make or buy or use last year's Christmas presents, bath smellies and a book, and I'm having a bath. Sort it out. Book yourself an hour every week between now and the end of the holidays. Do you love reading? Plan a trip to the library and just browse the shelves like you don't have anywhere else to go. Do you love the light show? Plan for evening walks around the neighborhood to look at the changing displays. Some of this can be for the family, but I'm not onto that plan yet. This is for making sure your cup is full before you take on all the things. Tip number 3, just don't do it. You know the Nike line, just do it. This is the opposite. Just don't. Anything that creates friction or resentment or impatience or anger, just don't. You know the parts that do this for you, whether it's trying to park at the mall on a Saturday afternoon or wrapping things creatively enough? Just don't. Buy online, shop Tuesday mornings at 9:30, or go to small stores downtown instead of the mall. And make sure everybody is happy by writing checks this year. Or step away from the competitive wrapping and go with fabric sacks or paper bags. I know, because I've been in Christmases where this happened, that some of the people who are not super well organized wrap their presents in the bags they came with from the store. They're wrapped, we're done. It's just as much fun to tear them open to find out what you got from that store as it is to tear open themed paper. Tip number 4, are you writing all these down? Tip number 4, make 3 columns on a page of your notebook or a whiteboard and list all the tasks, all the errands, all the visits, all the events, all the errands. Did I say errands twice? That's because there's probably a lot of them. All the cooks, all the bakes, all the parties, all the obligations. Include everything. I have to go to the post office and stand in line. That is a thing that is going to take time. It needs to be on your list. If you only have a vague idea what it is you're trying to cram in, you will feel even more scrambled and pressured. Writing it down can make it obvious what you can apply number 1, 2, and number 3 without further discussion. Tip number 5, rank your list. Now that you've got this list on your whiteboard or in your notebook, in the second column, from 1 to 10, with 1 being, do I actually have to do this? I don't even like the way it looks. To 10 being super fun, everybody loves this, we are definitely never going to stop doing it. That's a 10. Just rank them. That's tip number 5. You need to know the order of your priorities about this stuff. Tip number 6, one more time with feeling. Cull that list. If you're having a normal busy season and want it to be less busy and more fun, cut out everything that doesn't make a 3. If you're super stressed heading into this month, you've had illnesses or disasters or nasty budget surprises or huge disappointments or losses, drop everything that doesn't get a 5 or higher. Tip number 7, hold that thought for a moment. I know some of you are coming up against some really big resistance inside, especially the parents who've been stressed out coming into this season. If half or more of your list is ranked at 4 or 5, this can feel really daunting. Let me go back to the beginning for a minute. Remember that I mentioned that in the Christmas Carol, the classic holiday season, everything is done in 2 days. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It's simple, joy-filled, and peaceful. Take a few moments to yourself every couple of days from now until the holiday. Sit quietly and close your eyes and breathe. What would you like this holiday to feel like? What would you like it to look like? Maybe you'd like to change the numbers, without the addition or continuation of the items that don't rank above a 5. Are you concerned about what other people will say, or maybe of having to explain yourself? Let me give you the one line that will forever and always stop every argument or explanation. A friend of a friend was cooked. She had absolutely nothing left, and it was around the 5th of December. And the one thing she was dreading the most was the obligatory dinner at Mother's. Her mother was a problem to deal with all the time, but with 3 young and rambunctious kids, last year had proven that this event was simply wall-to-wall criticism about her parenting, about her kid's character, about what a terrible daughter she has always been. So this year, she said, I won't be coming to Christmas dinner this year. Her mother, in a predictable rage, entitlement, and intolerant, vented and tantrumed a bit, and then ended it with, but why? And this friend said, very simply and very firmly, I just don't want to. It's inarguable. Now, for a lot of people, I've just delved deeply into taboo territory, where many people with a history or problem with people pleasing will stumble or just meekly cave in. For lots of parents, this is a place, especially with their own parents and extended family or their in-laws. This is an area of contention, poor communication, and immovable expectations that requires a little more thought. This is the more I talked about at the beginning. Lots of people can take workshops like these, take the tips, make the changes, waltz happily into the season of peace and joy with ease, while others with a different kind of history find even the first tip to be a real challenge, even when the pressure to conform with all the expectations is genuinely only internal. I've known parents who've been orphans since they were young adults, who still feel a tremendous pressure from their traditional histories of Christmas to do all the things. For you who cannot see being able to let go of all these things, or any of these things, without starting World War III, I have for you a small package of confidential coaching sessions that will set your feet firmly on the path of self-determination and the internal strength that you need, so you will never again feel entangled inside with what other people demand, so that you will forever be able to honor your own preferences and desires for your own life, your own time, and your own family. This is not about turning your back on those people or demolishing relationships. It's about turning towards your vision and your goals of your own life. So your answer to all that pressure can be yes, and yes, that's very important to them. And this is very important to me. If this sounds like something you would find helpful, there will be a link at the end of this that you can use to book a free call to find out more. Which brings us to tip number 8, disengage from for all time. Continuing from the resistance to cutting out all the items on the list below a certain threshold, let's remember that in a minute, maybe less, another holiday season is coming, when you might not be dealing with the layoff, sick kids, inflation pushing groceries through the ceiling, high stress at work, a recent loss of a family member, a pet. So what you cull from your list this year isn't necessarily off the list for all time. Like when you're training yourself to get up earlier, it helps to kind of bribe yourself with an I can go back to bed after I drink water and open the curtains. To ease yourself into the change, you can say, next year when I have more time or energy or help or spirit for this, I will put this back into the celebrations. Even if you're pretty sure it's not going to happen, it can make taking it out this year easier than some declaration of we are never doing this again. Unless, of course, you mean that you are never doing this again. Tip number 9, I think, is a parent survival tip, not just the holidays. Delegate that list. By now you're wondering if I have time to talk about what the third column is for. In every big multifaceted project, whether it's moving house or redecorating the main floor or building a new business, it is vital to delegate what you don't have time, energy, or inspiration to do yourself. As the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. If this task list has been on the whiteboard in the kitchen, pro tip, melamine fridges make excellent whiteboards. Don't use stainless steel for this. Your people might be looking at and worrying that their favorite things are being eliminated. Reassure them. If they want to do the items that don't make the threshold, they can write their name in the third column and make it happen. And for the items between your bottom and maybe 7 or 8, delegate those tasks too. Everything is more fun with a buddy, so you can pair up with a parent or another adult with a child, or the kids together if they're old enough or into it, if it's a task they can do without an adult. Notice that the strategy here isn't to get everything done, but to get everything off your plate. You can keep things on your plate, but you should never have had everything on your plate in the first place. Tip number 10 is going to come as a surprise. Enjoy. For all of what you do continue or add to your list this year, take a moment as you're preparing and start to focus your attention. Notice what you're wearing, where you're standing, who you're with, what you're doing, and how you're feeling. Staying present in the activity while you're actually doing it, whether it's reading a traditional story to the kids every night, baking your favorite treats, wrapping gifts, or writing thoughtful notes on your seasonal greeting cards to people far and wide. Whatever it is you're doing, do it fully. This is the heart of joy. If you follow all the tips that make sense for your task list, call all the tasks that fall under a 5 or a 3 if you have lots of energy, delegate everything to someone or a team of those most interested in having the items stay in the celebration list, and take care of yourself before you tackle any of this work, you will have the peaceful and joy-filled holiday of your dreams. Maybe even a holiday that you've always dreamed was possible and have never experienced. Does that sound impossible? That there are simply too many pressures, too many demands, or too many demanding people? So the tips don't feel like they can dig you out of the core of the problem, whether that's people-pleasing or a mindset that sounds like, I have to. I'm inviting you to book yourself a free family clarity call to find out if working with me will give you and your family the peace and joy-filled holidays you want this year and in the future. We can work with your goals and dreams and discover for yourself what is possible for your family in 3 focused sessions. If you think this might be for you, I invite you to book a no obligation call using the link on the screen. If you have any questions about any of the tips or need an idea for handling your specific situation, please email me, lindaclement@raisingparents.net. I read and respond to 100% of my emails, and I'd love to know how to make this workshop more helpful for parents. For more information, check out my blog and my website at www.raisingparents.net. One final thought before we're done. Call it tip 11. As many of you know, our thoughts create our experience of the world. When we think this shouldn't be happening, we have a very different reaction to everything that's happening compared to when we think this will be over soon. With that in mind, I'm going to ask you to think about how you really value things. Things you are given and things you give, things you'd love to give, things you'd love to get, things you'd love to have. Because money and loyalty and value and expenses and love are all tangled up, I'm going to suggest that you think a little bit about what your experience of value is. Is the price the way that you tell whether or not something is valuable? And really, is the price the way you tell if something is expensive? When you think about giving gifts or experiences over the holiday, is the value in the generosity, the thought, the care in finding something just right, or in the love and connection that you're sharing? Are other resources like time and your attention added to the price, which determines the value? Does something with lasting positive impact on someone's life have more value than something exactly the same price that is just a passing pleasure? Or does the same price mean they have the same value? Often people worry that if the budgets mean they have to spend less, people will think we love them less. But the trap goes both ways. My grandmother, while being completely completely obvious in her preference for my brother, her favorite, gave all three of us exactly the same number of gifts worth exactly the same amount of money. My brother got what he wanted, what he asked for, and what was clearly based on observation and insight into who he was and what he liked. My sister and I got things that fit into the budget and the number of presents necessary. A perfect gift for someone found clean and gently used at a thrift shop is still a perfect gift, even if it uses 1/10 of the money you plan to spend. While the same is true of a gift that uses all the funds you budgeted. When it's the perfect gift, is that the value? Or do you have to make up the numbers and the money in either case? I don't think there's a right answer suitable for everyone, but I know there's a deeply personal right answer for everyone. And I suggest you explore how you do this valuation and how you determine value. I wish you the happiest holidays filled with joy and peace. Thank you so much for watching. Please email me any questions you have, and remember to watch me Wednesday morning live on Facebook at 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great, great holiday that is peaceful and joy-filled for you.